Welcome to Mind Decoded, where we explore the psychology behind human behavior. Let's decode today's topic. You've met them. The person who's spectacularly wrong but absolutely certain they're right. The colleague who's incompetent but thinks they're brilliant. The driver who's terrible but believes they're skilled. This isn't arrogance. This is the Dunning-Kruger effect. And psychologists David Dunning and Justin Kruger discovered that people who lack competence in a domain also lack the metacognitive ability to recognize their own incompetence. The skills needed to be good at something are the same skills needed to recognize whether you're good at it. If you lack the skill, you also lack the ability to assess your skill level. Here's the original study that revealed this phenomenon. Dunning and Kruger tested Cornell undergraduates on logical reasoning, grammar, and humor. Then they asked participants to estimate how well they performed compared to their peers. The students who scored in the bottom quartile estimated they performed better than 60% of other students. They weren't just wrong about their performance. They were dramatically, consistently overconfident. Meanwhile, students who scored in the top quartile underestimated their performance. They thought they were only slightly above average. The incompetent overestimate, the competent underestimate. Before we begin, a quick disclaimer. This content is for educational and informational purposes only and should not be considered medical, psychological, or mental health advice. If you're experiencing mental health concerns, please consult with a qualified mental health professional. The reason this happens is metacognition. Metacognition is thinking about thinking. It's the ability to evaluate your own knowledge and performance. Psychologist John Flavell's research shows that metacognition is a separate skill from domain knowledge. You can know facts without understanding the limits of your knowledge. You can perform tasks without accurately assessing your performance. The Dunning-Kruger effect happens when metacognitive ability is weak. You don't know what you don't know. And worse, you don't know that you don't know. Incompetent people make two errors. Error 1. They overestimate their actual performance. They think they did better than they actually did. Error 2. They fail to recognize competence in others. When shown the work of truly skilled people, they can't distinguish it from their own inferior work. This is the double curse of incompetence. You're not only unskilled, you're unable to recognize skill. This makes feedback unhelpful. When someone points out your mistakes, you genuinely believe they're wrong. You can't see the gap between your work and good work. The peak of Mount Stupid is where this happens most dramatically. In the early stages of learning anything, there's a period where you know just enough to think you understand but not enough to recognize what you don't understand. Psychologist Knowles calls this unconscious incompetence. You're incompetent and you don't know it. This creates peak confidence. You've learned the basics. You can perform the task at a beginner level. You think that's all there is. You don't yet understand the depth and complexity that expertise requires. This is why beginners are often more confident than intermediates. As you gain real skill, confidence drops. This is the valley of despair. You now know enough to recognize how much you don't know. Psychologist Anders Ericsson's research on expertise shows that developing genuine expertise takes thousands of hours of deliberate practice. When you're intermediate, you've practiced enough to see the gap between your current performance and expert performance. This recognition is crushing. You thought you were good. Now you realize you're barely competent. Confidence plummets. This is actually a sign of increasing metacognitive ability. You can now accurately assess your skill level. The problem is, accurate assessment reveals you're not as good as you thought. Expert confidence is calibrated differently. True experts have both high competence and high metacognitive ability. They know what they know. They also know what they don't know. Psychologist Tetlock's research on superforecasters shows that the best predictors are those who can accurately calibrate their confidence to their actual knowledge. They're confident when they should be confident. They're uncertain when they should be uncertain. This calibration comes from years of feedback showing them when they were right and when they were wrong. Experts have learned humility through repeated experience of the limits of their knowledge. The illusory superiority bias amplifies Dunning-Kruger. This is the tendency for people to overestimate their positive qualities and underestimate their negative qualities relative to others. Psychologist Alicke found that most people rate themselves as above average on most dimensions. But mathematically, most people cannot be above average. This is logically impossible, yet when asked, 80% of drivers rate themselves as above-average drivers. 70% of students rate themselves as above-average students. The Dunning-Kruger effect is a specific version of this broader pattern. We're all prone to overestimating ourselves. But the least skilled are the most overconfident because they lack the knowledge to recognize their deficiency. Social media amplifies the Dunning-Kruger effect. Platforms reward confident assertions over nuanced uncertainty. Someone with surface-level knowledge of a topic can make bold, simple claims. These claims get engagement. Someone with deep expertise knows the topic is complex and uncertain. Their nuanced, hedged statements get ignored. The algorithm rewards the confident incompetent and punishes the uncertain expert. This creates an information environment where the least knowledgeable voices are the most visible and influential. Intelligence doesn't protect against Dunning-Kruger. Psychologist Kahan found that more intelligent people aren't better at avoiding this bias in domains where they lack expertise. Smart people are just better at constructing justifications for their incorrect beliefs. If you're intelligent but uninformed about a topic, you'll be confidently wrong. And your intelligence will make your wrongness more convincing to yourself and others. You'll generate sophisticated-sounding arguments that are fundamentally based on incomplete or incorrect knowledge. The inverse relationship between confidence and competence has real consequences. Incompetent people don't seek feedback because they think they're already good. They don't pursue training because they don't believe they need it. They don't defer to experts because they don't recognize expertise. This stagnation keeps them incompetent. Meanwhile, competent people seek feedback because they recognize their limitations. They pursue training because they know there's more to learn. They defer to greater experts because they can recognize expertise. This growth mindset enables continued improvement. The Dunning-Kruger effect isn't just about inaccurate self-assessment. It's about whether you're on a trajectory of improvement or stagnation. Here's what helps overcome the Dunning-Kruger effect. First, seek objective performance data. Your subjective impression of your performance is unreliable. Psychologist Tasha Urich's research shows that most people's self-assessments don't match external assessments. Test scores, performance metrics, peer rankings. These provide objective anchors. When objective data conflicts with your self-assessment, trust the data. Your internal sense of your ability is probably wrong. Second, actively seek negative feedback. Most people avoid criticism. Psychologist Carol Dweck found that people with fixed mindsets interpret criticism as evidence they lack talent. But criticism is information about the gap between your current performance and good performance. That gap is precisely what you need to know about. Request specific, actionable criticism. Not general praise. Not vague suggestions. Specific examples of what you did wrong and how to improve. Third, learn from experts and study exemplars. Psychologist Robert Glazier's research on expertise shows that novices can't distinguish good performance from poor performance in domains where they lack knowledge. Deliberately expose yourself to expert-level work. Study what excellence actually looks like. This calibrates your internal standards. You begin to recognize the gap between your work and expert work. This is uncomfortable but necessary. Your previous overconfidence was based on never seeing what good actually looks like. Fourth, embrace measured incompetence. Psychologist Adam Grant emphasizes that acknowledging what you don't know opens learning opportunities. Saying "I'm not sure" or "I don't know enough about this" isn't weakness. It's accurate self-assessment. It invites input from people who do know. It protects you from confidently wrong decisions. The most dangerous place to be is confidently incompetent. Measured incompetence is uncomfortable but safe. You know your limits. You operate within them. You seek knowledge to expand them. Understanding the Dunning-Kruger effect changes how you interpret confidence, yours and others. High confidence is not evidence of high competence. It's often the opposite. True expertise comes with humility because experts have encountered enough complexity to know how much they don't know. When you meet someone absolutely certain about a complex topic, that certainty is a red flag. And when you feel absolutely certain about something you haven't deeply studied, that certainty is a warning. You might be at the peak of Mount Stupid, confidently wrong, unaware of how much you don't yet understand. And that's how the mind works. If this helped you understand yourself better, Subscribe for weekly psychology insights. Thanks for watching.